Hey guys, welcome to Starlight Tarot. I hope everyone is doing great and amazing. First of all, thank you so much, all those who had reached out to me via email, and for letting me know that this is helpful. This is this is not something which is planned out. This is something by accident, and I'm like, okay, so we have a lot of white space, so let's just let it be. All right. So this is lecture 2. Every week I'll be putting across 2 lectures, right? Every lecture will going to have 2 or 3 cards, so you would be having like 5 or perhaps 6 cards to read and practice from. um, don't overload the information first of all, but yeah. And just in case, while you're watching any tarot readings on my channel or on other channel, try to see and try to make sense out of how the reader is interpreting the cards based on the card which is following or based on the card which is before the actual card that you have studied here. Okay, that's how you will going to get the grip of it. Okay, so let's find out now what's happening with the High Priestess. So today we'll be covering High Priestess, the Emperor. Um, so in the last lecture, I found the cards to be very small, and I found my jumbo-sized cards, which are like good enough in size, and I don't use them for readings because they are like huge. So yeah. All right. So things to look at here. Now, whenever we talk about High Priestess, there is something which is known as intuition that always comes in mind. But why is High Priestess associated with intuition? Because this card, A, it is also numbered as 2. In numerology, 2 is associated with moon, right? If you see symbolically as well, this lady, she has moon. So we consider this circle as a moon. So the moon is basically on her head, and moon is about premonition, moon is about intuition, moon is about subconscious, okay? So which is why High Priestess is associated with the moon. Now, elements to check in here. So this is a priestess. She's kind of wearing a blue veil. She's sitting between 2 pillars. Don't ask what does it mean. I think this is bows and this is Jachin. Ignore my pronunciation. I don't know how to pronounce these words. So basically, this is yang and this is yin energy, the dark as well as light energy. Okay, let's keep things simple. And then if you can see, there is a cross which is there. That means she's very spiritual. She's connected to the spirit world, higher self. All right, to the universe, to the God, whatever that you feel. Um, whatever that you call the higher entities. Okay. She also has a moon there towards her feet. That sort of represents that she has mastery over emotions, over intuition, over subconscious mind. Okay. And if we see, there is a scroll that she's holding and it's written as TORA. This scroll sort of holds the secrets perhaps of the universe, but she's basically a keeper of secrets. She's basically someone who has the knowledge, someone who's very wise, right? She has the wisdom. Okay. Now, if you talk about what else is there? Of course, the whale at the back, it has pomegranate, and that fruit symbolizes wisdom. And it's considered sacred. If you talk about in the ancient Israel, this fruit was considered as something that's sacred. So what else can we see here? So yeah, this dress of hers, this blue dress of hers, it's kind of merging very effortlessly with the waves of the water, right? If I have another tarot card, I could basically show it to you. But okay, I can just find it out for you because I don't know like from which deck does it belong to. But anyway, that's how we see. Now, these are the elements to look for. Okay. If you look at her face is something which is calm, composed. So whenever you are doing a tarot reading, the first thing to basically check is the facial expressions. Um, if not in the Rider Waite, in different tarot cards, with different designs, if you try and see those intuition, those emotions, they just come out, very strongly. Something which is very simple. Let me just show it to you. Like these cards, right? This is the Lightseer's Tarot. This is another tarot card which is widely used. Now it will be like very difficult for me to find out the High Priestess here. And I just wanted to give you that understanding, like how does this look like in different cards. Because first, of course, we're picking up a card, we're seeing all these different elements. So in Rider Waite, of course, these elements are very much present, and the elements are too much, so that there are different meanings of these cards. However, in others, it's not okay. So if you see this High Priestess, okay, this is her This is her third eye, which is definitely activated. She's connected to the higher realm. Her crown chakra is sort of opened up. Crown chakra is connected to the 5D to 4D, 50, 15D, she's definitely having moon here. There is a cross which is across her neck. And all we can see here is basically intuition. Intuition coming in, inner knowing coming in, the knowledge and the wisdom coming in. And when you look at her facial expression, it is calm, composed. Okay. So that this is what I was just trying to tell you. So whenever you see a card, just try to see, apart from the general meaning, like how is it making you feel. All right. So where were we before that? We were on the fruits. Pomegranate is also a symbol of fertility. It's also a symbol of love. It's also a symbol of marriage. Okay. So whenever this comes up in a reading, whenever this card comes up in a love reading, this sort of represents that you could be having a telepathic connection. This person could be intuitively connected to you, or this person intuitively knows that, what is coming forward, whether this relationship is for them or not. However, for the majority of the time, it also represents, uh, because it's all about intuition. Intuition is about your subconscious mind. It's not in the conscious mind. And when something is not in the conscious mind, it's very hard for someone to accept it, to bring it to reality. So something that's hidden, right? Something that's hidden. So subconsciously, if you talk about in a love reading, this card sort of represents anything that is hidden. Feelings are hidden. Motives, intentions are hidden. So if this card comes up in a love advice, you would say that, listen to your intuition. Your intuition knows the best. Okay. If in a tarot reading, if this card is coming in the influencing position, that means maybe this person is watching a tarot reading, or this person could be a tarot reader, right? This person could be someone who's very spiritual. This person could be someone who's like very intuitively connected. The intuition power is really strong. Okay. If you talk about in a modern world, if this card comes in, that sort of represents some woman who is doing amazingly well without having any, I would say, irregulation in emotions in the man's world. So in the corporate world, perhaps there is a woman who's basically at a very good position, and she has a lot of competitors when it comes to man, but she knows like how to hold her own authority, how to hold her own power, and not give out the energies to frivolous things. Okay. What else can we see here? Now, this also represents when this thing comes up, like, how the other person feels for you, and this card comes in, of course what they truly feel is something that this person could be having dreams about you, because this is about subconscious mind. This also represents that sexually this person is very much attracted towards you, right? Because this sort of an aura, someone who knows, someone who has emotions and control, everyone would want to be with that kind of person. And this is also a card of a very divine feminine sort of a presence, you know. um what else? I think that should be good. That should be good. I don't want to overload you guys with a lot of information. And it's not that there are a lot of information to do. Okay. Now, this high priestess, it is also associated with metaphysical possession of wisdom and divine knowledge. And that this is basically metaphysical possession of wisdom and divine knowledge, the scroll. Okay. So So when you talk about these pillars, this is more like the masculine energy, yang energy, yin energy, the feminine energy. So this high priestess has it all balanced. And if it is all balanced, that means the calmness, the aura, and everything will going to radiate that personal power, right? But like I said, there is a sense of mystery here. This card also represents something that is hidden, so that is the only negative thing which is associated with this card. If you talk about the element, of course the element is water. And every major arcana card is associated with either a planet, right, or a zodiac sign. So the planet associated with high priestess is again moon, okay, which I've said in the previous class. Sorry, previously. Okay, so this is all about high priestess. I'm kind of like not getting into the flow because I've never taught anything, but let me know if this is actually helpful. Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on to the next card. Okay, so we have Empress, which is about number 3. The planet that is associated with this is definitely the symbol that's already present here, which is Venus. Okay, the element that this Empress card is associating itself with is basically the earth element, because she's more grounded, she's more fertile, right? If you can see now, let's just look at the elements in the card. She's kind of wearing this dress, and again, it has pomegranates in it, which is a symbol of fertility, right? Wisdom. So, and she's holding this one, and then she's like dressed up full in crown and everything and makeup. She's looking very pretty. So she kind of have a knack of, I would say, doing things that are more related to Venus. So she's kind of into luxury. She's kind of into dressing up well, makeup, and all of that thing. So everything that a feminine would want to do. Okay. But if you look at the dress, this is kind of loose. Okay. So there is a high possibility. And in fact, um, again, in majority of the tarot cards, the Empress is shown as pregnant, so there is a high possibility that this card, when it comes in a reading, pregnancy, it represents new beginning. Pregnancy represents something that you would want to nurture, right? Pregnancy also gives a feeling of motherhood, that motherly nurturing nature. Okay. And new beginning, I've already told you. Now she has this Venus pillow. I would say this is a pillow only, right? Which is here, which has a Venus symbol. Then, of course, there is this red cushion and everything. So that means she's kind of surrounded by a lot of comfort. Okay. If you look at, there is water that is flowing, there are trees, there are grains. So basically, if you talk about this card, this sort of represents abundance. Okay. Venus is, of course, a symbol of femininity, and fields which are basically in front and back. If you see these again, these are something which is fully grown. Okay, so that means it represents abundance. Okay, so when you talk about the Empress, the theme of Empress is basically creative energy. So it also suggests that there is a realization of creative projects. There is a, I would say, basically in career, that you would be doing something related to Venus, or you would be doing something related to art, related to creativity. So that is coming up. However, when you talk about in the love reading, so this is basically a very positive card for love, fertility, family. So if someone is asking you whether um I will be getting pregnant, or maybe what happens to both of us are married, what is coming up next, and if Empress is coming up, that means there is of course progeny is happening. Hmm. Now this, if you talk about the Empress, so Empress has this incredible gift of harnessing interpersonal relationships, so to yield success and harmony. I think, if you guys have seen Crown, you must have known, right? Any lady, uh, perhaps in the old times, I don't associate with that energy though, but ladies in the old times, they perhaps were very social, they were too much into social work, they were all about helping people and all of that. I believe in helping people though. Okay, I just don't associate it with, um because a lot of, why am I putting my own personal beliefs here, but anyway, it's just that they were the ones who was kind of maintaining interpersonal relationships. Okay, they were the ones who was doing all the other peripheral work, while the emperor is only looking at the periphery. Emperor is only looking at the protector and the provider sort of a job, right? And Empress is doing everything that is about creativity, feeling good, feelings, emotions, all of these things. Hmm. What else? What else? What else? What else? Of course, if this card comes in, and if someone like asks you like what does he or she feels, and if this is the card that's coming in, so that means this person is very much attracted towards you, because we have Venus here. Venus is a passion, love sort of a planet. So there is a very strong attraction. This person feels that you're very beautiful. You are someone who's very, I would say, well put together, dressed up and everything, right? You're more like, how do I put it? A wish fulfillment, when this card comes in. That means you're more like a wish fulfillment, because you're nurturing, you're beautiful, you are abundant, you are feminine, you have all the qualities, right? You smell good, you look pretty. So what else is left? Everyone would want someone, and yet the strongest feeling is basically you're grounded, right? Because it has earth energy. So you're grounded. So any beautiful girl who's grounded and everything, of course, that's more like a wish fulfillment. And that's why she's the Empress. Okay. If you talk about the yin and the yang energy, of course, there is no doubt that this is more of a yang energy. There is one more thing that I've been called to put. So if this card comes in reverse, then what do you think that is happening? So all your creative endeavors will not going to yield results, and it could also represent that this person doesn't want a new beginning. This person wants to stop things there in love readings. There is a detachment which is happening, right? Because if this card is upright, that means there is a strong attachment. This person finds you very desirable, and reverse means completely opposite. Okay, so this is about the Empress, and we will cover Emperor now. All right, so the third card is Emperor, and let me just remove these. It doesn't suit Emperor's personality, I'm gonna remove it. Yeah, I like to do such stuff. Anyway, so when you talk about this emperor, of course, when you look at the guy, he's kind of old. That means he has been through a lot. He has struggled a lot to be where he is today. If you look at the landscape, it's like all barren mountains, of course. So everything um, that sort of represents the hardships in his life, right? Which is why it's imperative that this person is very strong, very authoritative. This person gives more importance to mind more than heart, but sometimes it also goes a little bit negative, right? He's the emperor, of course. It's been totally, we can make out from the dress, the jeweled crown, the red robe. Red is a representation of power, fire, Mars energy, right? And red is also a color of Mars. What else are we looking at here? Of course, these ramps are representation of fire energy, Aries. It also represents his sovereignty. Okay, so this card is basically a representation of authority. It also represents to some extent government, because government is, of course, authority. Um, the theme for this card could be, that all is in order and everything is under control. Okay, this person sort of represents self mastery over emotions, self mastery over action, self mastery over being a protector and a provider, in stability, in consistency, in everything. Okay, so you can say that this person is somewhat dominant and superior, when it comes to work, career, or business. In fact, in love relationships as well, this is the person who will be the one who will be like very much in control, might not express something more often, but would be willing to give that protection, would be willing to give that stability to you. So deep down inside, this person is very masculine. Not deep down, I mean in actions also. This person is very masculine, all right? But don't expect things which are more like feminine, in the sense talk about feelings, pamper the other person. No, this person is all about, I'm going to protect my girl. I'm just talking from the gender perspective, right? So that you guys can understand. So if you're a male watching this reading, and if your friend is a female, so it really doesn't matter. However, the feeling, just try to understand the emotion behind it. So I'm going to protect my girl. I'm going to provide for my girl. I'm not going to let anything, any bad intention, or any bad evil eye, or let's just say any um, adversity affect her. So my job is basically to create stability and an environment and that safe space so that she can flourish. And that's what Emperor is doing. However, while this person is creating that safe space, that is for her to flourish. But if the girl would want some sort of an emotional comfort, or some sort of talking it out, or perhaps and talking it out, or expressing emotions, so that is when the problem lies. All right, that is when the problem lies, because this person doesn't like to give control to anyone. This persons are Such people are very, very control freak in a relationship as well. They are all about structure, they're all about regulation, they're all about dominance, they're all about mind over the heart. That's it. That's what this card is for. So if you talk about um anyone's feelings towards you, and if this card appears, and then there are surrounding cards are all about love, that means this person loves you, but then don't want to show you, they don't want to lose their power. If they're coming across a negative card, now this also represents narcissism, controlling, narcissistic personality, controlling personalities again. But this is also not a very good card when it comes to relationships, because someone is withholding emotions a lot, someone is like always being in control. That's like a very emotional toll on themselves. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this is where we end today's class. Thank you so much, students, for tuning in. And I'm going to see you in the next lecture. Please do your studies well and make me proud. All right, bye bye.